We can edit that out! We can edit that out! We can edit that out!
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're back.
I beat you. You had no chance.
By seconds.
Oh.
Yeah, right? This is the seconds episode. And this is actually the second time we're recording it because we really didn't do a very good job of the first time recording it.
Yeah.
Because, I don't know. But hey, everybody deserves a second chance.
Everybody?
I don't know. Who doesn't deserve a second chance?
I don't know, like Jeffrey Dahmer.
Right. He doesn't deserve a second chance to eat people. He already had one go at that. I think he did really well at it,
It's true.
Like, you hate people. Did a bang up job of it. Now try and do something besides eating people.
Do you think when you're feeding your own cannibalistic desires, when you say you're going out for Asian...
Now you're assuming I have cannibalistic desires.
I wasn't assuming anything.
I would like to talk about that now. That just leads me to think that you have cannibalistic desires.
I mean, who doesn't?
I don't.
This is why whenever someone gets around a baby, they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna eat you."
I'm gonna eat you.
But I think it's actually because they want to eat babies.
Now we're going into that whole weird QAnon thing, so we got to back out of that.
Let's get back to seconds.
Second.
So we decided that we would make this episode about seconds. Also, it is the second episode of the second season of our podcast.
Second year.
Recorded on...
second. The computer.
No, I mean, what's the date?
February 2nd, 1982. Sorry, we when we came here, we met these guys that were in Berlin from Nottingham, and they were in town to go see Infra Riot play on Saturday, and we just chatted with them for a bit. So in my head now, I'm like stuck in 82 somehow.
I think you've been stuck in 82 for quite some time.
Yeah. I'm not 10 years old mentally. I'm like 14 mentally. I'm totally fine with that. 14 was good years.
Bad.
14 was good years, I was talking about this last night. I said, yeah, I'm still humoristically 14 years old. But when I was 14, it was really annoying. Now it's kind of quaint and charming. Oh, you made a fart joke. This old man.
Look at him go.
Oh, so cute. Still moving around like that. Oh,
he's so spry for his age.
Gosh darn.
So why seconds? Why would we make an episode about seconds?
Because I think the thing is that we thought about like we're doing a second season. We had a good first season. Why would we do a second one? Didn't we do it fine the first time? And what do you do in the second season? It's like, it is like the second album or the second movie or the second everything. Why? Why do you do a second anything?
Well, I mean, I guess because you felt like the first offering was successful. You don't want to quit.
Okay.
You want to keep going. I guess it's that drive to grow, to move forward kind of thing.
But here's my question about this season is, do we do the same thing over again, or do we try and branch out? I mean, are we Motorhead that puts out the same album over and over again, or are we some other band that doesn't put out the same album over and over again? I don't listen to those bands.
I mean, I don't know. I guess that's for us to decide.
I only like bands who put out the same album over and over again. Progress, nah.
Really? You like your bands just one lane the whole time?
That's it. What's a good band that has progressed through the years?
Up until a certain point, I was actually a huge fan of the way Neurosis grew.
Yeah, okay. Okay. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
I mean, sometimes bands try to branch out and it fails miserably. Famous second album that bombed was Bad Religion's second LP, which is called Into the Unknown?
No idea. Never listened to it.
It was bad.
Really?
I mean, they had like synthesizers. They tried to make like a prog punk album.
Weird.
It flummoxed massively. Everyone fucking hated it. It went out of print immediately.
Okay.
And it took them a while. Took them several years to come back, and then they came back with like Suffer,
yeah.
I think. But that was like years later.
See, because I went straight from How Could Hell Be Any Worse to Suffer. I never actually knew there was anything in between.
Yeah, the cover's got like
Because
the cover's got like a picture of like a universe, and like the Bad Religion logo is in like Star Trek font. It's real bad. It's real bad.
Okay, if you could see this, I'm making a really stink face.
Yeah, he's making a very stink face right now.
Okay. What about what about sequels, like movies? What's I mean, the given is Empire Strikes Back. Every Star Wars head will say, "Oh, best sequel ever."
I mean, that's a great sequel. Superman 2 was good too. That was fun.
We talking about Christopher Reeves?
Yeah.
Which one was 2?
Superman 2 had Zod.
Zod, General Zod.
Yeah,
Ugh.
that shit was cool.
Yeah,
that was
pretty.
I actually preferred Superman 2 over Superman 1.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But typically sequels kind of fall flat.
Why is that?
I think it's because they try to reanimate old tropes from the first movie to please the audience. But most of the time, the audience, when they see that joke come back, unless they're real dumb, you know, kind of groan and be like, oh, they just recycled the jokes. Like the Hangover movies, to me, were kind of perfect example. Because like Hangover 2, they basically just remade Hangover 1 without pushing the boundaries too much.
Yeah,
And to
they
me,
just
it
put
was
it
like,
in a different setting.
yeah, and I liked the first movie a lot, but like the second one was like, it's okay.
I kind of like the second one. But isn't that what we're doing here? Isn't that what we're doing? We're like redoing the same shtick again for a whole second episode. Like, why does anybody care? You know, why wouldn't people at home say they already did that? You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I think we have enough ideas between the two of us to not rehash something.
Hey, if we're recording this a second time, I'm not sure that's a truism.
True.
Or one thing I was thinking about on the bus today. I was thinking about this. This is kind of weird and maybe this is confrontational. I don't like to confront the audience. I like to bring them into my living room and let them watch the fireplace and get warm and snuggle up. This is what I do with our audience. That's why my voice is like this. I was thinking, like, why is usually punk band's second album not as good, and metal band's album's second album is better?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with money. Metal bands, once they start getting support, once they start having successful tours, money's coming in from record sales, touring, they have the time to really extrapolate on these fanciful musical ideas they have. Punk bands burn hot and bright and oftentimes very quickly. So like a punk band's first 7-inch and LP are generally solid gold. But after that, you know, there's no money, there's no support. It's a lot of struggle unless they're really, really good big band. And oftentimes punk bands kind of fizzle out after their first offering.
I think a lot of the inherent nature of punk is that like spontaneous spark of instant creativity, like bam, we got this in your face, boom. To where the metal is more of a genre that refines, to where punk is just spontaneous.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's more about energy.
I really think that's a lot of the essence of punk. I mean, you look at the punk crowds and stuff like that. It's very spontaneous. Like, we do whatever the fuck we want. You know? How many times do you come home from a show and be like, wow, I did no idea it was going to be like that.
Yeah.
You know? But you go to a metal concert and it's like, yeah, that was that. The band was amazing, but the besides the music, that was about what I expected.
Well, I mean, sometimes, you really like a band and they put out another album and you're like, oh, fuck, this was so not like the first one.
Yeah, but I also think that some bands have a golden period. There's some bands that put out the same album over and over again. Some bands progress, and a lot of times the bands that progress, they have this golden period where maybe it's their third album that, like, for instance, Neurosis' third album is just golden. Souls to Fear, their second and third albums are just brilliant, and after that it's like they keep progressing, and that just kind of wears out.
Yeah. Well, I think sometimes also it depends on how long a band has been together. If they just formed, as they work more together, they find their sweet spot and they really figure out what their sound is all about. Sometimes with punk bands, start knowing exactly what they want to do. There's not really a whole lot of room to progress or grow. And maybe that's why the second album's kind of falter, because like they kind of nailed it the first shot. Yeah. Metal, I think, has got way more room for growth.
I think that's absolutely true. You can write us if you disagree.
Yeah, so Rudimentary Peni, I mean, first LP is genius. First 2 7-inches, genius. But as they progressed and got weirder and weirder and weirder, I mean, like Cacophony, come on, that's like a...
Oh, I love Cacophony, though.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Huh. To me, Cacophony is like a masterpiece.
Huh. But that was, to me, that was because it was the first album I bought by them. That was in those days where you couldn't get whatever you wanted immediately. You had to go to the record store and be like a record store hound, waiting for something interesting to come in on the second hand, and okay, I've heard all these punks talk, you're just a kid, so you hear other people talk about Rudimentary Peni. Oh, I don't know what that is. And you see, I found the Cacophony tape at Fallout Records. It's like, oh, Rudimentary Peni, this is this band that's changing everybody's lives. I have to have this. And you go home and listen to it, and you're like, what the fuck is this? I don't get it. I don't get why this is that big of a deal. But I still listen to it over and over and over again to try and figure out why it's affecting everybody so much. And then years later, I heard Death Church, and it was like, oh, now I get it. But I still love Cacophony because it was still that first, like, charge, So I think sometimes it's going back to seconds. Sometimes that first inspiration you get from a band
totally
is what really matters.
I mean, my first introduction to the Subhumans was the Worlds Apart record.
Which one was that? That was with the yellow hands on it.
With the yellow, holding the painted glass and the guys falling through it.
Oh, that's not, okay.
Oh, but I love this album.
Yeah, because that was your first.
But not just because it's the first, because even after I discovered Day of the Country Died and, all the early 7-inches, the EPs.
You still go back to that and love it.
I still go back to it and I love it. And I actually really love the musicality of it. I love the atmosphere. I think it's a great album. I think it's a very understated album.
My first Subhumans was 2020 Split Vision. I still love that. So good. What was your worst first? Maybe this episode is more about firsts, because first is, or we could talk about that. Why is first more interesting than seconds?
But I mean, that's so subjective though, and it can change so much.
Okay,
I think you're overthinking this.
Okay. I mean, I know that's the problem is that since this is the second time we scrapped the first version of this second podcast, because I have a problem with overthinking everything to death, and I overthought it to the point where I just went off the rails, as I do.
Where do you think that comes from?
Yeah, I mean, the typical, you're not good enough. Nobody paid attention to me, and I wanted to make my voice heard, So it's like, since I'm not good enough and I have to make sure that it's something worth hearing,
Well, this is a kind of interesting thing. And I think this essence of like overthinking something is what leads to bad sequels. It's what leads to bad second albums. Like you had a success with your first offering, then the next one comes up and you're like, oh, we got to make this better. But you put so much energy into this idea of making something better that you forget what made the first thing great because you're trying to like beat it. So I guess it depends on what it is. I think with like music and movies, oftentimes, you know, you can stick to your formula and still be successful, but it depends on kind of your vision for your creative output.
So with your creative output, I mean, Phalanx only had one album, but Countdown had a couple. What was your mindset from the first to the second? Was it just like we're gonna do this better, or we're gonna do the same thing again but better, or is there a difference?
I mean, with that band, we had sort of always this kind of idea of like growth and pushing boundaries in mind. I think the difference in our albums is that we just became a tighter unit and like learned how to play what we were trying to play much better. Okay. So for me, like the later material like greatly outweighs the earlier stuff.
Okay.
But I still look back at some of the early recordings that we did, and you know, I really love and cherish this space we were in where like we want to like make hardcore music, but we want to like make it more atmospheric and ethereal, and some of our early recordings are like kind of crazy, you know.
Okay, you can see that. I mean, I don't know that I've ever listened to any of your albums all the way through, but listen, it's because I saw you guys play live all the time. So what was the point of listen? I just waited till you guys played again. So don't fault me on that.
No faults
please.
whatsoever.
Okay. Like when you see a band live constantly, it's live versus live is always better. I mean, not always, but in general, live is always better.
Also, sometimes I think you look at your friends' bands differently than you look at...
Oh, absolutely. You know? Yeah.
Which is weird, because like I've been friends with people in some pretty amazing bands, but I always kind of view the band differently. I don't view them as this...
echelon.
Yeah, it's like this person on this group of people on a pedestal that are like mysterious. Maybe it's like this essence of mystery that's not there. You know, I love a lot of my friends' bands, of course, but like I don't listen to them the same way that I would listen to like my favorite artists, you know.
I tell you this story. You know the band, what is it? Vardrun? Is it?
Oh, okay, kind of pagan.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
So apparently
Vardruna.
Yeah. Apparently, I'm friends with the singer of the band. Had no idea. He's a traditional hand tapping tattoo artist. Done so many conventions with this guy. Get just hammered, fucked up with him after the convention. He's really a brilliant human being. And when Nacho came to one of the Scandinavian conventions I was doing, I introduced him. I was like, "Hey, Nacho, this is my friend Kai." And Nacho's like, "Oh my God, so cool to meet you. You are such a big influence. Your band is amazing." I'm like, "That's Kai. Why are you saying that to Kai? Like, do you not know his band?" And like, "No, that's Kai. What the fuck are you talking about?" You know, had no fucking clue. He's in this like major epic band. And the funny thing was me and Nacho took a road trip around Iceland later. And he was like, fuck off. I'm going to play some Vardrun for you. And he played it. Like, fuck, I know all these songs. I've heard this like many times, you know? I don't know how, but they were like that big. I'm like, how did I not know Kai was in Vardruna? It's crazy. Huh.
But also think about the way you approach your art. You know, you do this remote drawing exercise all the time, right?
No, I do not remote drawing. I don't know what you would call it, where I just draw without thinking about it.
Yeah,
is that
exactly.
what you're talking?
Yes.
Yeah.
What is that called?
I can't fucking remember the automatic
drawing.
Automatic drawing, where you just draw without thinking. You just keep your your pencil or your pen or whatever on the paper. You put on some music and you take your pencil or your pen off the paper and you just keep going. And then you throw a sheet off and then you go and then you throw a sheet off and it just warms you up.
What's the intent of doing this?
It's like a runner just doing some warm-up stuff before you start the marathon, It's like warm up, get your hand moving, get it comfortable with moving and working. It's totally the exact same as warming up for any sort of strenuous physical exercise. It's totally a warm-up. Is there anything like that for photography or... I can't think of it.
Not really, because
really.
photography really needs intent behind it.
Right. You're not going to get out there and just like, oh, I'm just shooting a bunch of pictures. It's stuff randomly. Da, 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 da.
Yeah.
Although that could be fun.
I mean, sometimes, when I was first starting, I would waste rolls and rolls of film just shooting every aperture and every shutter speed combination to get a better understanding of like how each setting affects the later.
Okay, but that's also it. Same sort of idea. Same sort of exactly idea. But also, if you're getting up to play a show, you've seen a million bands, and I'm sure you've done this. Is where you hear them play like Smoke on the Water or Paranoid while they're tuning up and getting ready. Warming up. Because you warm up. Because you're doing your first chance. Because you got no second chance when you play a concert. You can't go, hey, shit, that wasn't so good. So come back tomorrow and we're gonna do better. Right. And that's the interesting part, if there is anything interesting about this episode, is we're talking about seconds in relation to second chances mostly. And that's why I overthought the first one, because second chances really aren't that interesting. Give me one funny story about a second chance that you ever had. I mean, I bet you give me one about a first chance.
About a second chance? I don't know. I mean, funny? I don't know. I've had plenty of second chances in my life, but I don't know if any of them are funny.
What's a good second chance you got in your life?
On a very basic level, getting really excited about playing a legendary music venue, and then your band cans it.
Yeah.
Fucking cans it.
Right.
And then maybe you have like another chance on another tour to come back and like redeem yourself.
Okay. What venue would that be? Got one in particular?
I would say like, for me, the first time I played ABC No Rio in New York was like a big deal.
Man, we killed it at ABC No Rio. But you guys...
Well, Phalanx didn't... I feel like Phalanx didn't do so great at ABC.
Did you go back and play there again?
I went back there with Meshkia.
Okay.
And
Meshkia killed it.
Meshkia it was a Halloween show with Mischief Brew at ABC No Rio. Everyone was dressed up like it was. That was a killer show. So
yeah.
So that's kind of like a redemption deal,
Meshkia never needed a second chance. That best always.
We had our moments. We weren't always great.
Okay. A side plug for Rob's old band. Check out Meshkia, spelled Meisce. See, I know how to spell Meshkia, but I don't know what fucking year it is. All right. Give me a second chance to remember what fucking year it is. Isn't part of editing stuff out giving yourself a second chance?
I mean, kind of. It's more like saving your first chance.
Yeah. Okay.
Second chance is like you really have to go through a process all over again
from the absolute beginning.
Yeah.
So you think the say if I do a touch up. The touch-up on the tattoo is not really the second chance.
No, not necessarily.
Unless
they laser it off and you got to like redo the whole piece.
Man, nobody likes lasers. I love lasers in sci-fi, but on your body, I think they're not comfortable. I don't know. I've never been lasered.
Me neither.
I mean, you should. Oh. Someday we should talk about that. The worst punk tattoo contest that we had that Rob won first place.
In 2006?
Was it 2006?
Yes, it was.
Fuck, time goes by.
And I had some fierce fucking competition in that.
From me. Because my tattoo, old punk tattoo, is just as bad as yours.
Was it your Subhumans one or what?
Yeah. Subhumans one. But they wouldn't give me the award because I was one of the producers. So they said, well, let's go to, even though mine was way worse than yours.
Yeah.
But yours is way thicker than mine.
Yeah, it's still bad. I never got it lasered or fixed.
Yeah, but that's what do you call it? Old friend of mine, Tippett, called it Grr points. Oh, that's cool. Like, I don't know what to do with all these shitty old punk tattoos I got. He goes, whatever, dude, you got Grr points.
Kelly Halliburton once famously said, our entire subculture is built upon a foundation of bad tattoos.
And it's true. And speaking of which, I think we need a cigarette.
I think we do too.
You want a cigarette?
Let's have one.
All right. Wunderbar.
Zischen.
So anyway, we're back from a cigarette, and I just want to say, I was thinking about this during the cigarette that for some reason I feel so much more pressured to have a spot on talking podcast than I did the first time. The first time, just like, oh fuck it, nobody's listening anyway. Let's just goof off and talk shit. And this time it's like, there's people listening. Now I have to perform, or whatever my version of performing on a podcast would be. Do you get that feeling at all?
I mean, for me, not, but I guess I view this project not so much in terms of performing and trying to please an audience as much as it is more just I like hanging out with you and talking to you.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way, but you know.
So for me, I haven't felt any external pressure. I feel external pressure with the podcast in terms of like editing timelines, which I'm not so great at, and keeping things on schedule and organizing. But like as far as the actual content and everything.
Actual. What's the content? Is there content? We just talked.
We established very early on that this is not a podcast about content.
We just get an idea up and then we kind of roll with it and we figure out what happens from there. You know, stream of consciousness sort of thing.
Do you feel the same kind of pressure with tattooing?
Oh Jesus. I'd rather talk about stream of consciousness than tattooing.
Okay.
Tattooing is a real fucking headache for me. It's definitely not stream of consciousness. For me. I think there are many artists who can just whip something out off the top of their head and have it be brilliant. And there's some people like me who have to overthink the shit out of every tattoo they do, know exactly what I'm going to do before I even do it. There's no room for improvisation, you know. The thing is what is more preferable to the viewer? Stream of consciousness where it's like first thought, best thought? Or is it editing something to refinement to where it's like in its perfect diamond stage, you know?
I think there's arguments for both. It kind of just depends on what you want your art to look like. If you're playing very technical music, or you're a very technically oriented painter or illustrator, you know, this refinement process is also intrinsic to like the end goal. But if you're more ethereal about how you approach art, this I think applies to like jazz musicians and, you know, experimental avant-garde kind of creators. It is more about the moment of creation and just harnessing that and letting it run wild. So I think there's arguments for both. I don't think there's like a blanket, you know, one that can be applied to every discipline and genre.
But which would you prefer?
I mean, for me, like, honestly, I'm more of an editor and refiner. Okay. I mean, it's intrinsic in the work I do with graphic design, with video stuff, playing music. I have kind of grandiose ideas that I'd like to try to actualize. And that process involves pre-thought, thinking out things beforehand, making an outline, having some sort of structure so that when you do go into the creation process, you're not just flying by the seat of your pants, you know. However, there are some times when I totally overthink something and ruin it. And I look back and think, had I just freed myself from my own expectations of my own capabilities, that I would have had a better product in the end.
So there's gesture drawing versus this hyper realistic, and you can't really spontaneously produce hyper realism to where you can spontaneously produce like a gesture or an impression, you know. But I was just thinking of like when I was studying ink drawings by the Asian masters, that they would do a perfect bird with 2 strokes of a pen and ink. And it's like, that is beautiful. That looks exactly like the silhouette of a bird, bar none. But when you learn about it, you realize that master has done that 100,000 times, of doing that same 2-stroke over and over and over and over again. And to me, it's like, maybe that is the overthinking, over editing part, you know? So there's like a where they both kind of combine at that level, you know? I don't know. I've always thought that was super interesting. I've always tried to go in that direction, but failing miserably, obviously.
Sure.
You know?
I mean, I think there's a lot of...
Hey, I just said failing miserably, obviously. You said, sure. It's that obvious? Okay. Anyway.
Do you have any examples of your own personal experience where overthinking something screwed you in the end?
In my head the other day, I wanted to start branching out in a different style of drawing and painting. So in my head, I had this idea of Iggy Pop as Ziggy Stardust. Iggy Stardust. That's funny, right? So I did a shit ton of ketamine, and I fucking did this painting in about 4 hours. I was like, wow, that looks cool as fuck. Just kind of sloppy, but focused as well, you know? And I looked at him like, that's really has a feel to it. And then I said, okay, cool. I'm going to do that again, but without doing drugs, because I don't do drugs all the time. Just every once in a while, I do. I wanted to do Dirty Debbie Harry. You know, Debbie Harry with Dirty Harry's gun. It's like, oh, fuck. Okay, cool. Go in the same vein. And as I'm working on it, I wasn't as spontaneous as I was with the Iggy Pop. And it just had this static look to it, because I had that first inspiration to do this. Okay, cool. I'm going to use ink instead of paint. I'm going to use this different paper. And this is like one shot or not. You know, with the ink I was using. Instead, the paint I was using, you could do redo. So that's why it was so spontaneous and vibrant with the first one I did. And then the second one I did with the Debbie Harry, it's like, that doesn't look as good. It's static. It's overthought. You know, even though I was using a medium that you really can't go back and redo, I didn't have that, like, make it and be good with it, you know, follow your idea, you know, kind of thing. And so to your question, yeah, that's the one time I felt like I started realizing, you know, I think a lot of times things become very static if you overthink them. And I think we're drawn to spontaneous visual art because it has that I don't know, humanistic, or I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I guess for me, like the moments where I fail at something or that I've overthought something and I've killed a song or killed my inspiration and, you know, didn't edit well or whatever, shot something like shit on video. It's that act of failure that actually works as the seed for a greater creation afterwards. Because all throughout my life, you know, this is like personal, professional, creative, everything that I have really failed at has been the actual moments where I learned something.
Yeah, of course. You only learn through failure, but sometimes when you do something really well, you come back at it and go, "Oh, I did that really well. I'm gonna do it again."
Mm-hmm.
But then you're overthinking it.
Yep.
You know, spontaneous. You overthink it. Second time, fuck. Why wasn't that as good?
Yeah.
Because you did it already. You did that. You know? Now do that again, but not that.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds weird.
No, it makes perfect sense to me.
Oh.
You know, when it comes down to overthinking, a lot of it is really just stemming from, you know, your own personal insecurity and your own, maybe it's like something your parents told you when you were a kid, or you had a teacher that was basically telling you would never succeed. So you've got like this kind of baggage from your upbringing and your youth, and it manifests itself in your present day. Really, there is no external force for the most part telling you that you're not good enough to do something. It's really coming from yourself. Sometimes you put out a record and somebody fucking bashes it in a review. I can't. I wish.
No marketing panache. Oh, he hates it when I bring that up, because I've been with Rob for a long time. I remember his first record review. His label Aborted Society put out a compilation, and they got reviewed in Maximum Rock and Roll, and the brutal review was, "It lacks marketing panache." What does that even mean?
I don't know. And, you know, quite honestly,
Fuck,
that
like a
comment-
punk fucking zine saying you don't like you lack marketing panache. Like, what the fuck is that?
mind you, this was, you know, a compilation which had like a fucking 20-page booklet. It had hand silkscreen covers, colored vinyl. I mean, like that shit was full of marketing panache.
What does panache even mean?
I don't know.
It's a French word, isn't it?
Whoever wrote that sucks.
When a CHE goes shad, then it just sounds French to me. Yeah.
I mean, I think panache in that
Panache? Is it panache or panache?
panache in French.
Oh,
But
we'll ask Felix.
feelsies were counting on you.
Feelsies.
But like you know, I think what they were trying to say that it was like primitive and unrefined, maybe. It wasn't entirely a bad review, but like that was such a sticking point to me, because I was like, fuck, marketing panache is like the furthest thing from punk that I could think of.
Yeah, because I remember when that review came out and you were so stuck on that for a long time. And I remember when I read it, because you're like, look at this. I'm like, fuck them. But you were stuck on it,
Yeah.
You know? And to me, it was always just like, no, fuck them. Who gives a shit? Fucking Maximum Rock and Roll? Fuck off, you know?
I mean, I guess, like, you know, particularly at the time, MRR was sort of like the...
I know. It was the holy grail of punk fucking subculture.
I mean, they were the kingmakers, for lack of a better word, you know?
Yeah. That's a good way to put it, I think. Yeah.
But, you know, in retrospect, slightly less than half of my reviews in MRR have been terrible.
Okay.
But...
I didn't know that. That was the only one I ever read.
Oh, Countdown got roasted.
What?
Multiple times.
Man, that record was really good. I already admitted that I never listened to it. So, what did they say?
The last LP we put out, it started.
The one with Brandon on the ground?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
that record.
Weird cover. I didn't get that. We're just gonna put Brandon in the woods and have him lay down and take a picture of that.
Why not?
Maybe because I know Brandon. Like,
Sure.
why is Brandon laying on the ground like that?
Well, you know,
You know?
the record is called Through the Wires. It was basically trying to reconnect with humanity and essence of, you know, what it means to be alive through all of the frayed wires of technological advance that have kind of stripped us from our humanity. So that was the concept of the record. And
So Brandon should lay on the ground.
well, you know, it's like
I don't mean to take the piss out of you for
no.
for-
I mean, the concept was to have, you know, somebody from someone representing kind of like a, you know, I guess like urban modern civilization nestled in a canopy of like overgrowth forest.
Yeah.
That was kind of the loose idea.
Maybe in my head I saw it and here. Oh, this is interesting. Maybe in my head I saw it and I was like, why didn't they ask me to lay on the ground in the forest? You know, like in a egotistical way.
Okay.
Because I'm saying it wasn't a bad album cover. I just think I feel like since I know Brandon, to me it was like, oh, why is Brandon laying on the ground like that? That's weird. And maybe I'm not saying this is a thing. I'm saying maybe in my head, because I'm able to take myself out of my ego and look at it and go, why, you know. And I'm taking myself out of my ego and asking myself, why would you think that about Brandon? And then like I can question myself and say like, maybe it's because you wish you were the one laying on the ground, being like, hey, who the fuck knows?
Could be, but
It's hard to.
But interesting story about that photo
No, okay.
is that it was spontaneous. That we did not.
Yeah.
I did not plan to take that photo when we did.
Lay down. I'm gonna take a picture of you.
Well, we were on a little camping trip for my birthday at the time, and I was struggling with this pressure of having to try and come up with like an interesting album cover. And we were on a little hike and I saw this canopy and I looked at it and I had a spontaneous spark of inspiration.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There you go.
And so I talked Brandon into lying down in there, which he did not want to do, by the way. It was really wet and kind of gross. But I was like, I'm seeing something. I think this might be a potential for an album cover. Mm-hmm. And so I talked him into doing it, and he, you know, put on his jacket, and we hiked over there, and you know, he laid down, and he was very uncomfortable during the whole time, and I was kind of like half laughing, and I took several shots.
So Brandon was uncomfortable.
Yes,
Interesting.
very.
We need to delve into that. Could be a whole podcast.
But this is the thing. Like, you know, I had spent so much time overthinking and stressing out about this album cover, and then we're just hiking through the woods, and I just see this like kind of interesting scenario, and I had a vision of like a punk lying down at the base of this canopy and like surrounded by like these huge old growth trees, and that was it. As soon as I had the spark, I was like, that's the cover.
I don't know. I think there's something beyond spontaneous and over edited that we're not really getting. Maybe our viewers can help us out with that. But I think there's something dynamic. There can be dynamic overthought, and there can be dynamic spontaneous. But where does it converge? You know, we talked a little bit about the Asian master ink drawings, you know, and to me that's a convergence, but I don't know where. I think that maybe is the quest for all visual artists, is to find where that lies. Sure. You know, where is your spontaneity overlapping with your intent and getting that just the muses speaking to you and going like, perfect, and it doesn't look forced, but it doesn't look sloppy. Because I guess at the end of the day, that's the one versus the others. Because over editing could look forced as fuck, and spontaneous can just look sloppy garbage. Like why even bother?
Sure. I think sometimes like when it comes to creative ideas, like particularly with songs, it's nearly impossible to force a song out of yourself. You almost have to be in the right mindset to receive the song.
Yeah.
If this makes any sense, like, all the times that I've really tried to sit down with my guitar, I'm like, I'm going to write a good Totenwald song today or something like that. I usually just sit there fucking blank, rehashing a couple riffs, getting frustrated, putting my guitar away, and then, sulking in the corner smoking a cigarette. But at times when I don't have this expectation of myself to create something, my mind is actually more receptive to inspiration and idea.
Yeah, exactly. You let your whatever part of your mind is out, and you just tune into the part that tunes stuff in. I don't know.
Yeah.
For example, Michelangelo said that he didn't try and sculpt anything out of a block of marble. He just tried to release what was already in there. Mm-hmm. And when I didn't write that many songs, but I wrote a few. So when I was writing them, I thought I would think to myself, the song is already written. I just have to put it on paper. I don't know if that's too like weird metaphysical,
no. Not at
but
all.
that's just like it's there. It already is. Just let it exist. I don't know. We're getting really weird metaphysical this time around.
I kind of like it.
I don't mind. I don't mind.
I think with art and with music and literature, oftentimes there's sort of a prescient nature about things. Like you can write something and then...
Prescient? What?
Prescient means like it's foreseeing.
Okay.
It means like you have sort of this primitive clairvoyance where you write something and then later on the thing that you wrote about actually kind of happens.
Okay.
And I think with music and literature particularly, and visual art, all of the creative like endeavors, there is this sort of prescient nature that can exist with them. Not all the time. I don't know how many times that I've read books about things that happened later on,
Books. What were they? So I want to tell you a funny story real quick. Okay. So, I sang in that band in the old days, the Blood Clots. We don't need to go into that. It's fine. But the new singer started, and he got like a little bit hyped up, and he was talking to me one time. He goes, "Hey, do you think I've done a good job replacing you?" Which is a weird thing to ask somebody. Like, what are you gonna say? Does the ex-boyfriend ever come up and say that? So, how you think I'm doing with her? Like, what the fuck? But he says to me that, and I said, actually, you're doing really good, but you're not me, and you never will be. And he says, well, why do you think that? I said, because I mean, you remember me back in the old days? I was just fucking like pretty chaotic. I said, well, you just like don't create random acts of chaos. He goes, what do you mean? Well, if I was you, I'd just hit me in the face right now. So he hit me in the face. And then I looked at him, I said, yeah, but I told you to do that. That wasn't random at all.
Yeah. That's free will versus determinism.
Yeah. So like tell somebody, be random. Okay. But I just told you. Oh, one of the best graffitis I ever seen was like, think for yourself, and under it somebody wrote, okay. Like, that's not how it works. Okay. I just like feel like this episode was very like overthought, because this is the second time we did it, and I'm just gonna throw this out there. Next episode, no thought. Like, okay, like Allen Ginsberg versus Kurt Vonnegut. You know what I mean? Allen Ginsberg, first thought, best thought. He wrote all that Howl shit just straight out of his head, never re-edited it. Kurt Vonnegut would write his book, bury it in the backyard for a year at least, or so he says, who knows. And then he would dig it up after a year and go, okay, is this still good? Mm-hmm. And I want to go back to Allen Ginsberg.
Okay.
Do you know, I saw Allen Ginsberg perform live before he died. It was right next to the Seattle Center. It was like some show space off of there. A friend of mine actually worked there. But yeah, saw Allen Ginsberg before he died.
Wow.
Amazing.
That would have been
like,
awesome.
I'll tell you, if any of our listeners, see, I say listeners now.
Holy shit.
I'm doing good. If any of our listeners don't know who Allen Ginsberg is, please read him before you listen to us again. It could be life-changing or not. Either way, don't overthink it.
Don't overthink it.
So,
all right. Well, thanks for joining us. I hope Zach isn't bored.
Okay. I think Brandon will listen to this one too, because we put him in. We talked about, Brandon. Like, hey, why don't you think I look good in that picture? I wasn't saying you didn't look good in the picture. I was saying, like, why do you wish you were me? I didn't say I wish I was you.
He looks pretty good in that picture, I will say.
He's a good-looking guy. So anyway, for all you good-looking guys and good-looking girls, this is We Can Edit That Out, episode 2, season 2. Goodbye.
We can edit that out. We can edit that out. We can edit that out.
Hey, if you like us and you're interested in what we're doing and you want to follow stuff that we do, and you want to do that, in doing so, you can do this. You can do an email with viewer mail to
WCETOpodcast@gmail.com.
Wrong. That was completely wrong. No, just kidding. You got it right. I just wanted to,
God damn it.
I just wanted to be the naysayer of the group. Now that this is a group, 2 people is not really a group, is it?
It's a duo, a dynamic duo.
Okay. I'm Batman. Hey, come on. Robbing your mom's clothes off. What? Anyway, sorry. I'm getting back to it.
Wait, did you say me and my mom's
No.
clothes?
No.
The clothes are off?
No. And also follow us on Facebook. What are we on Facebook, Rob? I can't remember.
It's We Can Edit That Out.
Oh, that's it. Crazy. What a interesting and unique title. And
Super good, super original. That's why we're here.
But also, please follow us on Instagram, because we need the money. I don't know how we'd make money off of Instagram, but it doesn't matter.
Some people do.
Just it's just something to say. And what's our title at Instagram?
It is We Can Edit That Out _podcast.
Yeah, and you don't actually write out underscore. You just put the symbol for underscore.
Yeah, if you underscored it, then that would be, you'd be undermining your whole purpose there, and that'd be weird. Not your porpoise, not like the animal.
Porpoise.
Is a porpoise a mammal?
General purpose. I believe it is an manimal. And a Manimal.
Manimal was a good show.
One season. That's a pity.
Did Manimal only have one season?
Yeah, well, we can talk about that in the next episode when we go into seconds. Like shows that should have had a second season. Like Manimal and Cop Rock.
Oh, Cop Rock. That's good. Okay, one more, and we're done.
One more. Okay. You want to lead it?
Sure.
Okay.
If you like what you hear, you can follow us on Instagram at
what?
Well, I mean, this is the part where you say our.
Oh, okay. We can edit that out. _podcast.
Also, we are on the Facebook. If you're into your weird aunt posting conspiracy theories, we're also on there, but we don't post conspiracy theories. We mainly just post pictures of us drunk.
That could be a conspiracy, though.
Yeah.
Right?
That's possible.
Maybe we're deep state, and we're eating babies while we're taking pictures of us as punks back in the 90s.
That's a weird conspiracy, but I'm on board.
That made no sense. Anyway, on Facebook we are.
Hey,
I thought that was me.
No, this is my.
No, that's me. You were leading this.
Okay,
one.
yeah, that's right. It's your turn.
We can edit that out on Facebook. Not on. You don't write in on the Facebook part. You just write. We can edit that out, and then maybe we can edit this part out.
For any underwear or non-related non-underwear. Sorry.
What? Why are you sorry?
For any
it's perfect.
For any underwear or non-underwear related topics or questions, please email us at
WCETOPODCAST at with a circle around it. GMAIL period COM. Or should I just say it?
Maybe if you say it, it'll be easier for people to remember.
WCETO podcast at gmail.com. I don't know, cause the WCTO, you say the letters, but you really can't say Wakito. I guess that's how you'd pronounce.
Yeah, Wakito is like a very weird fringe diet that some people are on. And it's basically where you...
Sounded Hawaiian to me.
It's where you don't eat anything. You just listen to our podcast until you lose weight.
Right. I did that. That's why I'm not chubby anymore.
He's a little chubby.
No, but yeah, okay. Just love handles, though. That's not that bad.
Also, you can listen to us wherever you find your podcasts, on the Spotify or the iTunes or the Stitcher, anywhere you really listen to your podcasts or get your stories, you can find us. And if there's a place where you do listen to your stories and you can't find us, write us and let us know, because we probably don't know about it.
Yeah, let us know.
Because we're old and we're kind of dumb.
Yeah, this is important shit. We need to be up at times with the kids.
Yeah, with the fax machines and the Bachman-Turner overdrive.
See, here's the thing. What we were into was never that cool, so we will still always be cooler than everyone else.
I like that. That's
I'm going to close with that.
Yeah,
that was good.
That's a good closer. All right. Bye. Send us money.
And drugs.